Hi, this is Olajide and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are here to analyze an email that was sent to us by a friend which appears to be suspicious. In this video, we will examine the content of the email and discuss how to identify and avoid potential scam or phishing attempts. Firstly, it is important to understand that scammers and hackers often use email as a way to trick people into giving out sensitive information such as passwords or personal data. They may use various techniques to create an email that looks legitimate, such as using a company logo or a professional tone to make it seem trustworthy. In this particular email, we will analyze the sender information, the content of the email, and any links or attachments that may be included. We will also discuss how to spot red flags that may indicate that the email is a scam, such as misspellings, grammatical errors, and unusual requests. It is crucial to approach any suspicious email with caution and to verify its authenticity before responding or taking any action. We will talk about the best practices for staying safe online, such as checking the sender's email address, verifying links and attachments, and avoiding sharing personal information through email. As we go through this analysis, please feel free to ask any question or share any experiences you may have had with similar email through the comment section below. Together, we can learn to identify and avoid potential scam and protect ourselves and loved ones from cyber threats. So without further ado, let's get started. There are several things we can check to determine if an email is legitimate or if it is a phishing or spoofed email, and these are a few examples: urgent call to action or threat, first time or infrequent senders, spellings and bad grammars, generic greetings, mismatch in email domains, suspicious links or unexpected attachment, and lastly, the SPF, DMARC and the DKIM authentication records. Now let's start with urgent call to action or threat. You should be very suspicious of emails that claim you must click, call, or open an attachment immediately. Creating a false sense of urgency is a common trick of phishing attacks and scams. They do that so that you won't think about it too much or consult with a trusted advisor before taking action. Now let's take a look at this email. It claims it is coming from the Nigerian US Embassy and Consulate, and we have the receiver name right here. So, dear Adediran, please find the links to a video message by US Secretary of State Blinken and other senior administration officials on the Nigeria election. We hope you will share widely on your digital media channels with your network. You may also share the videos from the US Mission Nigeria social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And we have a link right here asking us to download video here. And we have the United States stand with Nigerians as they prepare to make their voice heard by voting in general elections on the February 25th. The United States does not support any individual candidate for office. We strongly support free, fair, and peaceful election. Thank you. Public Affairs section, US Mission Nigeria. And if you scroll here, we have information about the footers, who is being sent to, and the subdomain of the usembassy.gov website. So now, after going through this message, we will see that there is no sense of urgency or indication asking us to click on a specific link quickly or immediately. Whenever you see a message calling for immediate action, take a moment, pause, investigate, and look carefully at the message before taking action. Another indication we can check is first time or infrequent senders. While it is not unusual to receive an email from someone for the first time, this can be a sign of phishing. When you get an email from somebody you don't recognize or that your email provider identifies as a new sender, Take a moment to examine it carefully before taking action. In this case, our friend here, Mr. Adediran, he just received an email for the first time from Nigerian US Embassy and Consulate. So we're going to proceed now to the next indication, which is spelling and bad grammar. If an email message has obvious spelling or grammatical errors, it might be a scam. These errors are sometimes the result of awkward translation from a foreign language by foreign scammers, and sometimes they are deliberate in an attempt to evade filters that tries to block these attacks. So we're going to take a look at this mail and try to check if we have grammatical errors. In order to make things a lot more faster, we're going to use an AI tool called Quillbot, which checks for grammatical errors in text document. So what we're going to do is to grab the first part of the email. So I'll copy this and paste it right here to see if we have grammatical errors. And by our indication, we can see we have just 2 errors right here. So I'm just going to do away with this and copy the second part of the mail. So we have the second part of the email, copy, and we paste it right here. Okay, we have 0 grammatical error from this mail. So another indication of a scam email is generic greetings. And organizations that want to send you an email should know your name, and these days it is easy to personalize an email. If the email starts with a generic "Dear Sir," "Dear Madam," "Dear Member," that is a warning sign that it might not really be a mail from a legitimate source. Now from our email here, we can see that our email is personalized, which is "Dear Adediran," meaning that the Nigerian US Embassy and Consulate knows this receiver as Adediran. Therefore, we will say that this email does not contain the indication of generic greetings. So we'll proceed to the next. So another phishing or scam email indicator is mismatched email domains. First of all, we need to understand where we can locate the email domain from our mail, and that is from the sender information. And if you go to the sender information right here, though this email was forwarded to me, but we can still get the sender information. So we can just come over right here and you will see from US Embassy, and we see the sender's email address, which happens to be yarling.mailer@state.gov. So this email is coming from the state.gov domain. So let's check out state.gov if it's a legitimate website. So I'm just going to use the state.gov and wait for that to come up. So we can go back to our mail and see if we have the footprint of this yarling.mailer@state.gov on the public search engine. So I can just open another tab for that on the Google search box. I'll just paste this right here and let's indicate our email address in quotes. So great. So we have this Yali network on Twitter, and our state.gov website is coming up. So this kind of look legitimate from the US Department of State, Secretary Blinken's travels, and we have, okay, so this looks like a legitimate site. You can see it indicating here an official website of the United States government. So if we go to the yarling.mailer@state.gov, so let's go through this Twitter post. Okay, nice. So we can see that this is the same mail that sent this our email, and we have the Twitter handle to be Yali Networks, and we have some post 2016. So you can see that this particular handle Yali Network is verified on Twitter. If we go back to our email right here, we can see that yali.mailer@state.gov is an email that emanated from this state.gov domain. So in the situation whereby you are having an email claiming to be from a certain organizations, and you have the sender address coming from another subdomain that does not belong to that organization, so you begin to suspect that there's a very possibility that that email is a scam email or a phishing mail. So the next indicator we are going to check is suspicious links or unexpected attachment. And this is where things become a lot more interesting. Um, it is a situation whereby we investigate all the links and attachments in our email. And if you take a look at this email critically, we have some social media channel links such as the Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And also we have a very big button right here asking us to download video here. Now, if we point to this Facebook link, we can see from the left bottom corner that this points to a domain called the e.america.gov. First of all, I need to check if this domain exists. So we're going to just use the e.america. Okay, let's just check that one more time. e.america.gov. So let's get that. Okay, .gov. And I'll see if I get anything from that. This is obviously a login page. So we get a page asking us to log in with this logo of Department of State, United States of America. So I'm just going to go back and see what I can get from this link. So what we're going to do is right click on this link, and we can copy. So let's copy link location. So once we copy link location, I can open a new tab, and we can investigate this in VirusTotal. So I'll just enter the domain virustotal.com. All right, so we're going to go to the URL section of VirusTotal, and we're going to paste the link right here. You can click on the enter key. So we'll just give this couple of seconds to come up. Okay, so we can see the result of our VirusTotal from different vendors. We can see the Alien Volts, Anti-AVL, Avira, and the likes are all coming up with clean status. So what we can do is go to the details section, and from details section we begin to see information such as categories of the link, history of the link, HTTP response for the link, and most importantly our final URL for the link, serving IP address, and the status and other HTTP headers information. So for now, what interests us most is the final URL, and I can grab this right here. So in order to walk through this investigation, let's just open a text editor somewhere where we can paste these final links. All right, I'll just use the mouse pad, and let's call it email. Let's just call it email records.txt. All right, so I can paste. So let's do away with this. So we can go back to the mail. Oh, sorry about that. So we can copy the final URL. This is where the initial URL is redirecting us to. So can I copy this? What's happening? Okay. Okay, so Control C, can grab that and paste it right here. So this is for the Facebook. It's for the Facebook link. And the next we have is the Twitter link. I can also investigate the Twitter link. So let's go we can just go get the Twitter links, just like the same way we copy link location, we go to the virus total and we paste it right here, and we hit the enter key. Okay, so just like the Facebook link, we go to the details and we scroll down and we can get our final URL. Okay, good. So I'm just going to copy this and let's indicate Twitter and we'll paste this so we can move to the next, which is YouTube. So I can just copy link location, go to virus total and replicate the same process. Okay, nice. We'll go to details, we'll scroll down to final URL and we can grab the YouTube URL. So copy and let's indicate YouTube. And I think lastly, do we have another link? We have okay, we have Instagram, so I can copy link location, virus total, paste and hit the enter key. So we have our security vendors analysis. Great. So go to details, final URL. So we indicate Instagram. So we can paste this right here. So we now have our final URL for the 4 links on the email. So the next link we have is this button right here asking us to download video here. So I'll just right click on the link. I'll go to copy location and let's see where this link is actually taking us to. And I copy that again, copy and paste. So let's see where our final URL is going to. So we go to details and we can see that this is taking us to a final URL of photos.app.goo.gl. This looks like a Google photo domain, but let's try to investigate further. So first of all, I'm going to copy this just like we did to others. So copy and we can paste. So we can call this download button and we'll paste it right here so you can save. Now, one thing you should note is every of these links is giving us a serving IP. So we can further investigate this IP and let's grab this IP address for the download link. So we can either investigate the IP address from virus total or we can take this to another website. So let's see what we have on the virus total. But first of all, I would like to grab this IP. So copy and we can see that virus total is telling us that this IP address is resolving to an Amazon O2 and we can verify this. Let's just open a new tab and say IP lookup and let's see this link. So we have the link to be whatismyipaddress.com/IP-lookup. So we can use this website to investigate the serving IP address. Okay, good. So we can paste this here and let's see what we have. All right, good. So we have an IP pointing to Amazon Technologies. Probably this website is hosted on Amazon Cloud Service Provider. And if you scroll down, we have location United States, which is the country. State is California, and the city is San Francisco. And we have some latitude and longitude if you want to get the actual location right here. So if we go back to what we get, which is the, sorry about this, I'll just save this. Okay, it's saved. So what we can do here is to grab this link, copy the link, and head straight to VirusTotal. And on the VirusTotal, we can place the link in this search box here, and we hit the enter key and wait for the result. So on the result, this is indicating that this is from the photos.app.google. And if I head to the details section and scroll down, we can see the last time this domain was checked was 6 days ago, and it has a 200 status, meaning okay. So if I scroll down, we can see that the final URL is the same thing as the initial URL. So what I'm just going to pick right here is the new serving IP address. So I'm just going to copy link. Sorry about that. Copy the IP. So Control C, and we head to instantipAddress.com. So I'm just going to paste this here and get IP details. So from the section here, we can see that this IP address is from the Google LLC ISP service provider, meaning it belongs to Google. And we have services such as data centers, and it is from United States. The state and region is California, and the city is Mountain View. So now I've gained a lot more trust about this domain that it belongs to Google. So I can now see where the IP address is going to take me to. So what I will just do is to grab the address one more time, and I can now access the email to see where it's being resolved to. And you can see that this is hosted on Google Photo. If you scroll down, you can see the video you are being asked to download, video length of 0 minutes 58 seconds. And we also have a picture telling us your vote matters. And if you click on this video, you have a speech from Anthony Blinken.
Nigeria's constitution,
Okay.
like America's,
begins with a simple and profound idea. We the people.
and during this election, you, the people of Nigeria, have a chance to make your voices heard, to choose your future.
The United States does not support any individual candidate for office.
But we strongly support a peaceful election.
That reflects the will of the people of Nigeria.
Because free and fair elections in Nigeria help create a freer and fairer world for everyone.
Your vote matters. This election matters, not only to Nigerians, but to the rest of the world.
We're invested in your success. Our shared democratic futures depend on it.
Go to inecnigeria.org to prepare to vote, because your voice matters.
The Nigerian people have a friend and partner in the United States of America.
All right, so you can see there's nothing malicious about this link, but you don't just click on links. You have to properly investigate in order not to fall victim of phishing or scam. So we're now going to move to the next indication, which is the SPF, DMARC, and DKIM authentication records. So lastly, we can spot a spoofed email or scam email by checking the SPF, DMARC, and the DKIM record. You might be wondering, what are these abbreviations for? The SPF, DMARC, and the DKIM help authenticate email senders by verifying that the email came from the domain that they claim to be from. These three authentication methods are important for preventing spam, phishing attacks, and other email security risk. Now, the SPF stands for Sender Policy Framework. The DMARC stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication, Reporting, and Conformers. And lastly, the DKIM stands for Domain Keys Identified Mail. So we're going to start with the SPF. The SPF allow email sender to define which IP addresses are allowed to send mail from the particular domain. And we're going to illustrate this in our mail. But before we do that, let's see the original message we have from this email. So in order to show our original mail, what we need to do is you go to the more, to these three dots right here. You click on it and you go to show original. So this displays the header information of your mail. So from here we can see that we have message IDs. We have created at, that is the time of this email was created, and the time is in seconds it took before the email was delivered. And because this email was forwarded to me, so it's not coming from the US Embassy. Instead, it is coming from Adediran Goodness, which is the person that forwarded the email to me, and this is my email. So the subject of the mail is Nigeria election, your vote matters, and as you can see, there's forward as the initial, which indicates that the message was forwarded. So while you are here, the part that you should pay very close attention to is the part that says SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. And you take a look at the status. Here we have pass, and pass. So you begin to raise your suspicions if you have the status as failed to whether if this email is legitimate or not. Previously, we've established the fact that SPF allow email senders to define which IP addresses are allowed to send mail from a particular domain. And we're going to be demonstrating this both using a website and terminal. So we're going to start from the terminal. So I'm just going to fire up my terminal. So I'll clear these junks we have here. And we're going to use dig as a tool to check the state.gov txt domain. And this will return the SPF record for this specific domain. And we have the domain right here. So before I begin to break down what each of these information we have in this SPF record is, let's try to use the second method, which is using an online application to check for our SPF record. So the site we're going to be using is, beg your pardon. So let's just do away with this and use this tab right here. So we're going to be using a site called spfrecord.com/spf-lookup. So this is a wonderful GUI site which we can use to look up our SPF record. So if you scroll up here, so you can see the site is asking us to specify our domain name and specify IP addresses. In this case, the IP address is optional, so we're just going to leave that. And on the domain, we just enter the state.gov and we hit the enter key. So this is going to give us the full SPF information about that specific domain. So if you scroll down, you can see that we have the name server set right here. We have the determined SPF record, which is exactly what we get from the terminal. If you look at the terminal right here, and you also have an additional information called legitimate IP addresses, which is telling us that we have over 91 IP addresses found on that specific domain, and it's trying to tell us that our SPF syntax check is intact, which is 0 error. So we begin to explore all the 91 addresses that can be found on the SPF record. So we begin to see Microsoft Corporation and other records. So you can hover over them to see that they actually belongs to the SPF record actually belongs to the state.gov and it's a mail server mechanism. So this is a simple way you can find your SPF records. So let's begin to analyze the SPF record to see what each individual part means. So we're going to start with the V equals to SPF1. So what this actually means is that it tells the server that this contain an SPF record and every SPF record must begin with this string. Now we have an MX right here which indicates a mail server, and we have list of some IP4 addresses right here which can be called guest list. Now what the guest list does is it contains the list of authorized IP addresses that is being authorized to send email on behalf of the domain. So this is indicating that these IP addresses, these and these and these, are allowed to send email on behalf of the state.gov domain. We also have an A record right here which is indicating that this domain is allowed to send an email on behalf of the state.gov domain. The next one is the include, and the include tells the server that a third-party organization are authorized to send email on behalf of the domain. Sometimes we can have multiple domain on the include part of the SPF record. And lastly, we have the dash all. So what the dash all does is it tells the server that addresses not listed on the SPF record are not authorized to send email and should be rejected. Now, alternatively, we can have, instead of the dash all, we can have the tilde all. What the tilde all does is it states that unlisted email will be marked as insecure or spam but still accepted. We can alternatively also have the plus all. What the plus all does is it signifies that any server can send email on behalf of your domain, which can be very disastrous at times and can encourage spoofing of your emails addresses that are attached to your domain. The second email authentication record we should consider is the DMARC record. The DMARC help administrator prevent hackers and other attackers from spoofing the organization and domain. Spoofing is a type of attack in which the address of an email message is being forged. And just like in the case of SPF, we can do this in two different ways, the terminal and the GUI. So we're going to start with the terminal. So I'm just going to head to the terminal and I'm going to specify dig as the application. In this case, we're going to use the text, the underscore DMARC, then we're going to supply the .state.gov and we hit the enter key and we wait for the DMARC record. So in this case, we can have our DMARC record right here. So let's take a look at how we can do this from the GUI interface. In order to do this, we're going to be using a website called DMARC, and it goes like this: dmarcian.com/. So we need to access the DMARC-inspector. So wait for that to load. All right, great. So we have a DMARC record checker, and if we scroll down, we have a place that says enter the domain. So what I'm just going to do is to insert our domain name right here, which is state.gov, and we hit the enter key and we wait for the application to generate our DMARC record. So if we scroll down, we can see our DMARC record right here, which is equivalent to what we have on our terminal here. So let's head back to the GUI and we begin to break down what each individual part of these records are. So talking about breaking down the individual part of the DMARC record, the DMARCian has successfully translated what each individual part are, and you can see it on the translation column right here. So the V equals to DMARC1 indicates that the DMARC version should always be DMARC 1. Note, a wrong or absent DMARC version tag would cause the entire record to be ignored. So we have the V, which is equivalent to the version, equals to the value, which is the DMARC 1. We have P equals to reject. So this is talking about the policy that is being applied to email that fails the DMARC check. This policy state could be in different states. We could have a non-policy, we can have a quarantine policy, or a reject policy. In our case here, we have our policy to be reject. So this is indicating that any email that failed the DMARC check should be rejected. So we also have another part of our email which says the RUA, which is usually pronounced RUA. RUA shows the receiving server where to send aggregate report of DMARC failures. Sometimes you could also have the RUF. The RUF tells the receiving server where to send forensic report on DMARC failures. In our case here, we have our RUA to be DMARC report 01@state.gov, report at dmarc.cyber.dhs.gov to be our RUA record. So now we're going to move to the last authentication record, which is the DKIM record. So lastly, we're going to talk about the DKIM authentication record. Now, the DKIM authentication record is an email authentication techniques that allow the receiver to check that an email was indeed sent and authorized by the owner of that domain. This is done by giving the email a digital signature. Now, one very important aspect of the DKIM is the DKIM selector. The DKIM selector is specified in email signature header and indicates where the public key portion of the DKIM key pair exists in the DNS. The receiving server uses DKIM selector to locate and retrieve the public key to verify that the email message is authentic and unaltered. So in order to verify the email message is authentic and unaltered, we're going to use the DKIM selector to verify the authenticity of this email message. And in order to do that, I'll just click on the download original right here, and the original email get downloaded to your system. So what you need to do is to locate where the file is. In my case, I have the file right here on my desktop titled Nigeria Election Your Vote Matters.eml. So what I'll do now is to locate my terminal and make it a lot more bigger, and we can CD to desktop. And for ls, now we have the file here, which is Nigeria Election Your Vote Matters.eml. So I'll use the mouse pad to view the file Nigeria Election Your Vote Matters. Okay, great. So we have the full original email message right here. Okay, so what we want to do here is to locate the DKIM selector, and in order to do this, we need to first of all locate the DKIM signature. So what we do is to just type the Ctrl F to find DKIM dash signature. So we have the DKIM signature, and we're looking for the selector. So this is the first DKIM signature we have, and if we press down the arrow key, we have another DKIM signature. So you can use each of these selector to verify the authenticity of a specific mail. So what I'll just do is to grab this selector. So I'm just going to copy. We'll head to my browser, and I can just head to the tab right here. Instead of the DMARC inspector, I'll just change this to DKIM inspector. Okay, so what I'm just going to do right now is I'm going to paste the domain, which is the state.gov, and I'm going to paste my selector right here, and we can inspect the DKIM. Okay, so there's something wrong with your DKIM record, blah blah blah. So there's an error, it fails to authenticate. So what I'll do is to grab the second DKIM selector. So just copy, and let's see if we can authenticate with this. And we get, congratulations, your DKIM record is valid. With this, we have been able to verify the authenticity of the email sent by the Nigeria US Embassy. By following these tips highlighted in this video, you can better protect yourself from spoofed, phishing, and scam email. If you do receive a suspicious email, report it to the appropriate authority or to the legitimate source it is pretending to be. Thank you for your time, and I will see you in the next video.